I'm Deepak Chopra. You're watching Newrealities.
Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and over the past 20 years, I've created a series with two of my most popular guests, Dr. J.J. Hurtak and Dr. Desiree Hurtak, and they are the founders of the Academy for Future Science. But in this series, we've covered the range of what I consider new realities to be. It goes from ancient civilizations to modern physics, to quantum realities, to linguistics, to archaeology, to religious studies, to the environment, to extraterrestrial consciousnesses. I'm going to show a clip right now from that first show that I did back in 1995 with Dr. Hurtak. I have a very special guest. He is an expert in religion and a scholar in physics, languages, history, archaeology, and a great student of metaphysics. And he's put that all together into this book called The Keys of Enoch. And this book was given to him as a vision, I would say, and it kind of changed the way we see the world.
It's the synthesis of both the visible and the invisible, giving not only the physics, but also the language of music, the language of what could be called higher consciousness that links together the missing pieces.
He looks the same. Here's another clip from our show about ancient civilizations.
I was able to work in Egypt with scientists. We use lasers, gas lasers, as we see, to go down the so-called star shafts, or the holes leading to the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, where we validated that there was at one point an exact alignment between the Great Pyramid and the constellation Orion in the south and the circumpolar stars or the North Star in the north, which is saying, in essence, the pyramid was a type of astrophysical computer showing very complex relationships. And the recent findings of the pyramids in China suggest that one time there was a higher physics that unified the East and the Near East.
And a very important show on zero-point energy.
The physical universe does not exist independent of the thoughts of each individual. We construct ourselves and we construct each other as consciousness becomes aware of its greater power. Secondly, the ordinary reality we perceive is not one universe, it is a harmony of phases, of movements of an indefinite number of universes. So here we recognize that there are many currents that converge through the human experience. And finally, each individual universe, exemplified in our human body, construction and configuration, also contains an infinite number of other universes with all variations and all possibilities. It's the ability of overcoming really the restrictiveness of the thought forms of science that open up the doors to the house of many mansions. The great transformation of mankind is taking place by linking together the classical zero-point energy field, which is something that can be tapped in the universe from the standpoint of higher physics, but also from the standpoint of human consciousness, the inner biological zero-point energy field that can be tapped.
This is one of our most popular shows on Melchizedek, where I had a breakthrough in understanding the essence of the Melchizedek energy. The interaction of the Melchizedekian order in this life is to initiate us here to deepen our own access to our spiritual nature. That's what I think coming into a Melchizedekian order or aligning with the Melchizedek energy will bring us. It's an initiation, is what I'm saying.
Extremely well said, because the whole idea of bringing the soul through self-realization, through higher faith wisdom into creativity, is to recognize we don't have to draw from the thought forms of the flotsam and jetsam that bring us down to the world of negativity, of geopolitical conflict, that enhance the lower strata of creation or history or dualism, but rather we concentrate now on the higher science, higher psychology of positive associations through which the inner powers of the mind that are latent are suddenly liberated, allowing the spark of divinity within each individual to rise to a higher level.
Well, yeah, you're talking about initiation. This is where I wanted this discussion of Melchizedek to move into.
Ultimately, you move from a myth of Melchizedek as simply a mythical archetype or historic figure into something that there is a personal participation, an experience that takes place.
What were some of your favorite shows, Desiree?
Well, let's just talk about some of these shows, because that'll be exciting. Okay, so the idea of the Pista Sophia, which actually, of course, we co-wrote, Dr. Hurtak and I, it's an ancient text.
So what we're seeing is, for centuries, we've looked at only the male or the masculine, the father element or the son element. And now we're starting to understand that the mother element exists also in all realms of creation. So whether we look at dark energy, dark matter, and the power behind that, whether we look at Gaia and that aspect of the mother behind the planet Earth, or whether we look at Sophia, which was known also to the Coptic Gnostics as being also the wisdom, feminine aspect, you'll see the mother exist also on every level of consciousness, awareness, and we now need to grow into that level of consciousness awareness to see the Divine Mother and to partake and really be a part of her power as well. So when you see what is matter, the physical light, then where does that come from? What was the source of that? People have always equated it to just being God the Father. What we're saying is there is also the Holy Spirit, which is that underlying element, that aspect of what we call gematria in the Hebrew, the mathematics, the perfect energy, the perfect divinity, the perfect growth cycle that we are all a part of. That is the female element. And there's more and more that can be said. There's an infinite scientific explanation that can be given to all these energies, but we also have to see the Divine Mother throughout.
So to put this in a nice recipe, the Keys of Enoch, in this series we've done together, brings a new cosmology that we're connected with the cosmic family. We're not alone in the universe. Secondly, it speaks about teleology, that there's a purpose and mission to evolution. It's not happenstance. It's connected with the pluralism of cultures in the heavens as well as the historic cultures. Three, it gives us a higher ontology, a meaning of science, a meaning of going beyond the traditional separations and paradigms that are materialistic into a meta-science that groups all of the possibilities together in terms of the multiple ways of sharing in divine and human experience. And fourthly, it gives us an epistemology of how language works through vibrations and music. And that is why those who see this series should be aware that we have music from great musicians that we work with throughout the world who've lent their talent to bringing out through the mantrams, the sacred expressions, the tonal qualities that enrich our mind to think in technicolor, our heart to sing in the full spectrum of sound, and our body to work physically with all of the gifts and endowments of our intellectual heritage, but also the cosmic heritage of the future that we shall participate in.
I love that. Can you let's review those 4 points slowly. So the first point is
New cosmology.
A new cosmology that represents that we're not alone in the heavens, that we're part of a multiverse of conscious, aware beings that are always interacting with us, but we have been dense to the fact that they exist. We're going to be talking today about how life is abundant, like that the universe is for life. Thank you for your work. Let's dive into the evidence that we have found just recently about how life is abundant through the universe. So, Dr. Hurtak, why don't you talk about the latest findings from NASA in this area?
For many decades, NASA scientists have debated the issues. Are there the building blocks of life in space? Or are we just finding evidences of what has been ejected from the surface of Mother Earth? And now we have, through the work of a scientist, Michael Callahan from Goddard Space Flight Center, the evidence that there are indeed the living building blocks of life in space.
Well, what's the evidence? Go ahead, Desiree.
Well, what was recently discovered is the fact that there was meteorites always found, and in fact, in some years ago, 2004, 2006, and then confirmed in 2009, that there was also amino acids found in space. But what was interesting now is they always said, well, maybe the materials we're finding in the meteorites that look like something like the purines of our DNA. Maybe they're just contaminations. But when they
from the Earth's atmosphere.
From the Earth's atmosphere. Because, you know, these meteorites have been here, some of them 13,000 years ago they landed. So even though you cut them open, there still might be something, you know, from contamination from the Earth, they're saying. So now they have actually confirmed that the purines, which is the building blocks, the adenine and the guanine specifically.
Are you talking about amino acids?
No, these are actually the nucleobases, as they call them, which are what we would know as nucleotides that make up our DNA. These are the bases for our DNA, the little molecules that form. 2 of the 4 have been now found in the meteorite material that they say comes from space, not from Earth. This is a real breakthrough.
We are part of a much larger blueprint of creation, and not in a static world that has no meaning.
Well, yeah, that we are actually evolving, that we are going through changes right now.
And we can help our evolution. We can participate with our evolutionary change.
And our evolution has to do with a divine impulse that is pulling us back to the source.
Right. 3, ontology, that there's a higher meaning to science, that we're not here simply to look at the colors of leaves on a tree or ancient civilizations, but rather we're here to construct the blueprint of life, that it has a higher meaning that puts us in the middle as well as at the end of the puzzle of life.
And what's important about that is that it's not happenstance, that there was and people don't like to use the word, but a divine design that really comes into this reality and makes us who we are, because we really come from that higher thought, the higher reality that exists. And so the mathematical perfection of the universe really is not something that just eventually
Of course it makes sense. I think it was Fred Hoyle who says the thing that life evolved accidentally is like a tornado going through a junkyard and assembling a 747. That's the same likelihood. So yes, there is a purpose to life, and it's for the evolution of the soul and
Sir
consciousness.
James Jean said that it looks like the cosmos is not a big machine, but it looks like it's a big thought.
Okay.
And the role of Plato, of the importance of thought forms and realities, is so important here, because the 4th is epistemology, of recognizing that we're entering into a new language. Not black and white language, not linear language, but multidimensional language. And that is why the keys teach us to think on multidimensional levels, harnessing both the left side as well as the right side, the male and female converging with a clap, an expression of joy and discovery that we are going to connect with our cosmic counterparts.
But to realize that our thoughts are powerful. So we have to really use that ability to be not the rational mind and not only the fight or flight mind, but actually come into our higher consciousness, our higher mind of thoughts and understanding and higher love.
Well, it's been a very exciting past 20 years, and we're going to do more shows. This series doesn't end here. It just is a chapter in our own evolution, and the next step unfolds as the keys unfold, as consciousness unfolds.
Please join us through our library of teaching, our musical library, our videos, our films. All are part of a vast avalanche of new information coming out that connects us with many universities, committees at the United Nations, as well as the Parliament of World Religions, where we've offered papers bringing together dialogue on all levels.
Thank you both. I'm looking forward to more shows and more New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and you've been watching New Realities. If you want to reach me, you go to my website, newrealities.com. You can also find the series that I've done with the Hurtaks there. It's a living library of knowledge that will uplift you. Thank you for watching.